There's been a lot of speculation and hype surrounding the next round of Apple MacBooks that could release later this year. Hopefully, they will release later this year. I mean, I haven't bought a Mac in like 4 months, and at this point, I don't even know what to do with myself. Some of us have hobbies involving buying MacBooks. Either way, today let's talk about what I would think would be the perfect MacBook if we got to have our own wishes come true and we could design our own perfect option. What would mine be? Let's find out. Ooh, I haven't slammed a laptop in a while. That felt good. What's up, everyone? I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. I've been wanting to make this video for a hot minute now. With all of the rumors circulating and all of the hype being drummed up for what could come out later this year, I really just kind of wanted to sit down and sketch out what I would actually consider to be a perfect MacBook. And yes, if you were curious, all of my requirements and needs would make it perfect for everyone. End of story. Boom! YouTuber entitlement block checked. One of the constraints we are going to have. Yes, I could think of all sorts of space age technology to put in here, like skip the MacBook and have my iPhone interface directly with my brain. However, I'm going to use current, or what seems like it could be realistic design choices, and keep this in the realm of possible and not the realm of science fiction or science fantasy. This isn't Star Wars. This is more of like The Expanse. Let's start with the physical design of this potential powerhouse. I really like and have always recommended the 13-inch MacBook Pro. That's what we got right here. This strikes a great balance of power, size, price, and versatility. And that's the chassis we'll go for my perfect build. Now, we will modify it a bit here and there in a second, but starting out, the 13-inch is the way to go. 16... I hear the questions now. Yes, 16 is fine, and we probably could fit a lot more power and port options into a 16-inch MacBook Pro, but I've always found the 16 to be a tad rough to travel with, not that I've been doing any traveling lately. But this video is about the perfect MacBook, which means, I guess, that I get my perfect world to go with it. So traveling is back in, travel size it up. When it comes to the body of the 13, I think the first thing we would do in modifying it would be to ensure whatever price model we are talking about, from the top end to the bottom base model, all of these would have 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports. Sure, it's imaginary. I could say, let's put in 15 ports, but 3 is about perfect for me, and I like rounding numbers up, so move that sucker up to 4. Right now we've got 2 on the M1 version. That's not enough. Let's get 4. Those aren't going to be the only ports though. Again, for my perfect MacBook, I would like to see a return of the SD card slot. But in a turn of events, I don't want the SD card slot on the side. In my manufacturing process, we will make the chassis just a hair thicker so we can have, get this is going to blow your mind, so we can have the SD card on the front. Having the SD card on the front, yes, it's a little bit unorthodox, but it should free up the sides to also have HDMI and Ethernet added in. Yeah? Look, I think that's a doable design. The keyboard I do think is good as it is. I don't have anything that I would want to update here, but in my perfect MacBook, we'd be taking out the touch bar. I'm sorry, everybody. I know some folks love it, but it's never wowed me. And the fact that I've had this crash on me at all in the last couple of years on other Macs that use the touch bar, that shows that for me, it's not worth the hassle of having a fallible little screen. Sure, it could do some neat whiz-bang things, but I don't want a display that can crash to control the volume and brightness of my display. So, physical function keys it is. That felt so good to say. That felt so good to say. I don't think, though, we're not going to increase the size too much, so I don't think with the physical size of the chassis that we will have, that we'll be able to do much with the speakers. That's not that big of a deal for me because I don't have a problem with the current offering, so the top firing speakers will stay the same too. Yes, the display will be updated, but let's talk about that in a future section. We're going to tease that for a little bit later. There is one thing that I would like to see added to MacBooks in the future, and this is kind of a new thing. Like, this is going to blow your mind a little bit, so stick with me because this might require a whole new set of accessories too. We've done MagSafe on the iPhone. And it has done some really cool things for me. So what I would like to see is I'd like to include a smart connector on the bottom of the MacBook. Yes, smart connector like the iPads have. I think we could design some kind of dock or mount that is totally wireless that you could just set the laptop into. That would be a big boon for those of us that work from home or those of us that do a lot of working from multiple locations. So we could have power, display, keyboards, everything connected to the dock You just set the laptop down, bring it up. It's basically grab and go. Imagine this, and honestly, this is something, I just thought of this as I was typing the script for this video, but the more I think about it, the more excited I get thinking about it, because I think this could be a fantastic idea. You've got a physical dock that most of us have already, but instead of setting the computer down and then plugging into a Thunderbolt dock or a Thunderbolt dongle, you just set it on the connector and everything starts to work. Kind of like how the iPad Pro and its keyboard function, but this would be a little bit bigger so we could get display, power, and connectivity out of it. It seems like a lot of engineering to fix a small problem, but sometimes having a dock plugged into my computer, that's just so much of a hassle to have to plug everything in, then plug it into the computer. This could replace all of that and be a smooth, elegant connection solution. Apple, if you're watching, you are totally free to steal this idea. Please do it. I think this would be incredible. Okay, physically, I think we could stop there and use all of the same internals and specs of the latest generation of M1 MacBooks, and I'd be dang happy. I'd almost call that by itself a perfect MacBook. But no, I'm a discerning computer designer, and I think we can actually do more to this computer than just give it a physical facelift. Let's talk internals. The M1 processor that we all know and love in the current MacBooks, it's already incredibly powerful. And not only is it incredibly powerful, but it's powerful without needing to draw all that much actual electricity. So in our hypothetical Perfect M1X MacBook, we're going to bump that processor up a few watts. Currently inside of the M1 MacBook Pro 13, we're rocking an 8-core chip that has 4 high-efficiency cores and 4 performance cores. Now, if you hadn't noticed from the Star Wars shirt, the junky, rugged hat up top, I'm not anything nearing a cutting-edge chip designer, so none of this might work in the real world, but we're doing some napkin math right now. Let's keep the 4 high-efficiency cores because I really like how quick and snappy everything is when it doesn't really need power. But let's add in, let's say 8 more performance cores, bringing us to a total of a 16-core M1X that runs at around 50 watts of power. I can't even begin to imagine how powerful an M1 processor might be that has the same cores as some of the high-end Ryzen offerings. And if we give it similar wattage too, I cannot even begin to imagine what kind of amazing things could happen here. Not only is the processor going to be revamped, but one of the weaknesses of the current M1 offerings is while they have a powerful integrated GPU, they don't have a dedicated discrete graphics card. And I mean, we are using the 13-inch here, so we are pretty limited on space. Okay, we might not be able to get something like the NVIDIA 3090 in here, but I would like to think with that slight extra space that we incorporated for the port design, we could also fit in a dedicated 12-core Apple GPU. And you know what? I don't think that's that far from the realm of possible. If you look at the 3090, it's built off of an 8nm technology and has 24 gigabytes of video memory. Apple is currently working with 5nm technology, so adding in a smaller, more efficient, yet powerful dedicated GPU, to me, that seems very possible. And the way I envision this working is I think an Apple GPU inside of an M1 system would kind of be like the T2 security chip found in the Intel-based MacBooks, but expanded to not only do encoding and decoding tasks, but beef it up to actually allow for a bigger emphasis on gaming or other pro tasks like video editing, photo editing, stuff like that if you are somebody like me and you do play WoW on an all-Mac setup. I use 2 Macs right now to play WoW because I'm playing 2 characters at once because, I don't know. Plus, for actually running programs in active memory, let's also give you 2 model options of 16 and 32 gigabytes of unified memory. I mean, I use a version with 16 gigabytes now. I cannot even imagine how fast a 32 gigabyte unified memory option would be. That would be, it's like lightning, like we're bottling lightning inside of this laptop. No kidding. Oh, the more I wrote this script and the more we're talking about it right now and the more I get to, I'm just so excited about the future of Macs. Like I use Windows machines and I use Mac machines every single day. Windows, yeah, they're good for what they are, but they don't really have me nearly as excited as what the future of Mac could be. There is one more thing that I think I would like to upgrade, and it would be the centerpiece of the whole build. This current small MacBook has a 13-inch display. Well, what I want to do is what they did going from the 15 to 16-inch MacBook, and I really think a 14-inch display is more than achievable on the chassis that we are talking about. All we really got to do is shrink the bezels on the side of the current display, and we're basically all the way there. However, I'm not satisfied with just making the display bigger. Who really cares if the display's all that bigger? We gotta go farther. We gotta take it to, I don't know, 10, because that's all the farther that my scale goes. One of the things that frustrates me when I'm traveling with a computer is sometimes the screen just isn't bright enough. I like working outside. I don't necessarily like being trapped down in a basement all day, every day, like I have been for the past year. I like working outside in the sunshine and the fresh air. But the current 500 nits of brightness, that just doesn't cut it all the time. In the M1 MacBooks, we've got 20 hours of battery life packed into this monster machine, and I do think we'd keep roughly something similar. Maybe we'd give up a couple of hours to power the bigger screen and the bigger processor, but we could add maybe a little bit bigger battery if we're making the chassis a little bit bigger. So we'll say like 18 hours of battery life. And with all of that power, I want to increase the display brightness to 1000 nits. I want this to be bright enough to work if I'm sitting on my deck in the middle of a summer afternoon. I want it to be so bright that I could suntan off of the darn display. Can you do this? 1000 nits? How bright are like suntanning beds? Probably more than 1000 nits. Plus, while we're in there upgrading, let's make this a fast refresh rate Super XDR panel. And when I say Super XDR, I mean like what they put on that very expensive monitor and what they put on iPhones, but extrapolate that to a full laptop display. While we could do whatever we want in this hypothetical situation, I think instead of going for something crazy like 240 Hertz, I'd like to keep this around 120 Hertz refresh rate. So when we take advantage of that Apple GPU, we can see the extra frames on the screen if we do want to play games on this thing. And obviously, while we're messing around with the display, we're going to make it a touch panel. Why would we do all this and then not make it a touch panel? Is there currently an OLED, fast refresh rate, high brightness touch panel even on the market? I don't know, but Samsung, go ahead and make one for this specific MacBook that we're going to make here today. You can call me. So how much, we made this magical machine, how much should this monster cost? In a perfect world, I would like to see this take over the higher end option inside of the MacBook Pro 13 line. So we'd aim for a $1,799 starter price tag. I'm not sure how much we'll get for all of the stuff that we said earlier, because a lot of this is new and we'll probably go for a premium. So let's say, if we're aiming for $1,799, let's say 12 core M1X, 16 gigabytes of unified memory, 512 gigabyte solid state drive, and no dedicated GPU for $1,799. I think that's pretty reasonable, and I think that's actually doable in the near future. But at the highest end, I think the highest end version would be that 18 core, 32 gigabytes of unified memory, 4 terabyte solid state drive, and a dedicated GPU for around $35.99. That is obscenely expensive for a MacBook, but that is the same price as the current i7 Pro 13 with its top-end processor, 32 gigabytes of RAM, and a 4 terabyte solid-state drive. Wow. Apple really gets you with those storage options. But for the price and all the technology inside of here, I don't think that's outside of the realm of reasonable. So that's everything that I would put into my perfect MacBook Pro, which would be a MacBook Pro 14. While we did end in a lot of high-end specs, I don't think any of this is outside of the realm of doable. And while it might not be what happens this year, I do think that we'll get something like this before long. Apple seems to be on a tear right now, and they're doing some fantastic innovation. So I don't think things like this are a matter of if, I think they're a matter of when. But that's enough of what I think would be the perfect MacBook. Let me know what all of you would want to see in your perfect MacBook. Leave me a comment below, because I would love to read some other cool design ideas. Just because I said in the beginning that this would be perfect because it's my ideas, that's not necessarily true. I don't know everything about computers, so let me know what you would like to see in your perfect MacBook. And if you liked this video, but you need something today and not something totally fabricated from the mind of an enthusiastic fanboy, here's my playlist covering the current MacBook Pro 13 in all of its M1 goodness. And you can find it by clicking right here. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.